Hi, I'm Doug Landoll. I've been doing information security for 30 years and performing assessments for different companies and state agencies. I'm here to introduce a security topic on 3 different levels. Let's get started.
What is data classification?
Right? It sounds like a mouthful of what's going on, but it's things we see all the time. Data classification is basically, it's a recognition that not all data is protected at the same level.
And what can I do if I want to change my information from public to private?
Yeah, if you want to change it, it means you want to restrict who can see it and who has access to it. So the first thing we need to do is classify it or label it. Anyone who's ever seen a spy movie is familiar with the military data classification scheme, and that is beyond public is confidential data, and then there is secret data, and then there's top secret data. And so in our own house, I think we only have 2 types of data. We have public and we have controlled, and that's it. But even that is an implementation of data classification. Going into data classification, I think there's a couple of important elements to it. And the first one is making sure that everyone recognizes how to classify that data. If you were to get salary information or a social security number or patent information or code, you would know what label that would get in your corporation. So maybe you can give me some examples in your company. What are the names of the levels of confidential data?
So we have public, private, and then confidential.
Okay, and an example of private and confidential would be?
Private doesn't mean that it's, at least in my opinion, necessarily can't be shared, but it's private, so it shouldn't be shared.
Okay.
And confidential is information that you absolutely, another person for compliance or just for security awareness in general should not have access to.
So much more restrictive confidential is. Mm-hmm. And I think we see the same kind of controls can apply in our personal life. Maybe it seems a little more subtle, but you're looking at a piece of mail and you're recognizing what's the sensitivity of it. And you might not be marking a label, but you're thinking of this is private, this is just junk mail. Mm-hmm. And there should be controls. I think we would feel better if the people in our family took the private mail and didn't throw it in the trash, but shredded it or kept it.
Right.
That would be an example of a control.
What I find that there's a number of companies that try to get a handle on understanding their data, and then from there, understanding where it lives is kind of the next piece of it. Is it encrypted?
Right.
But this is not easy. This is still something that I think a lot of companies struggle with. In fact, I would ask you, what are some of the pitfalls you have seen in data classification and maybe the ways it's being done well as well?
I'd certainly echo the understanding valuation as one of them. And something I've worked with my clients with is we use this term called crown jewels. Yeah. And the crown jewels idea is there's a fraction of 1%, like 0.04% of your data in volume represents 70% of the value to your company. So think of a developer, their code. Think of a pharmaceutical manufacturer, their formulary that hasn't been patented yet. These are sink the company kinds of pieces of data.
So what you're kind of getting at is an ownership, a psychological ownership of your part of the process.
Absolutely, right? Every single person in the company has to understand what public data is and anything that's not public and how to protect it.